Hello there, my friend. Welcome. Take a seat here by the fire because I got a very interesting story here about an argumentative, lawful good murder hobo. Am I the a-hole for kicking out a character for being violent towards other characters in an RP adventure, r/RPG horror stories posted by Meadow0? So I recently started to do some DMing in my own homebrew world. I wrote a few scenarios for players to choose from. One scenario I wrote, called Cohen's Legacy, is very heavily RP focused. I make sure to inform all players before they pick that scenario that your actions and alliances to NPCs and factions are extremely important, and you should approach RP scenarios with a little bit of social tact if you want the most success. All party members at the time agreed it was their first choice of the three options available. Mind you, one option is a standard go here, kill things, go here, kill more things, see you next week campaign, which they say they didn't want. Fair enough. So this party involves 4 players. 3 of the players make their character neutral. The last player wants their character to be lawful good and stated, "I absolutely hate people who do evil and terrible things." I give him a fair warning that personality trait on his character might cause him to butt heads with the other members of the party who stated they are okay with some thieving and nefarious activities every now and then. There are a few certain stories I have that lead me to the decision to kick him, and I'll try to be as objective as possible in how I tell these. Number 1. In Session 0, the player asked me how I rule on dark vision with magical light. Personally, I don't like to penalize players for having dark vision while their party members have a magical light or torch. I couldn't find anything raw about it, and my personal opinion is that I don't want that rule to influence what race people want to play or force people to pick a character with dark vision. Even though I said this, the player insisted that I use his preferred ruling on this instead. I kept telling him that's not the rule I want to use. Another player even stepped in and asked him to stop arguing with the DM. But it's important to note he insisted on this for nearly 10 to 15 minutes. Number 2. During Session 1, they are on a ship heading towards the island. This character asks the man in the crow's nest how long the trip will be. I then steal a joke from iCarly. I stole this joke because I figured he was talking to a character that I wrote as a senile old man, and it would be a fun interaction. At which point, his character pulls out his sword and threatens him to answer his question. Lawful good, by the way. To which he rolled a 5, so he didn't get his answer. In my opinion, kind of a weak reason to pull out your sword. Number 3. They fought bandits on the lowest level of the deck. Turns out, these bandits snuck on board with the help of a crewmate that has been on the ship and working against the captain for quite some time. The players, after killing said bandits, started to interrogate the crewmate with physical violence. The captain, who heard the commotion, checks what's going on. He sees corpses and the people he let hitch a ride on his boat for free punching his crewmate. His crewmate then yells, "Captain, they are trying to steal the boat!" who was then immediately punched by the players again after this. The captain then closes and locks them in the lower level. They were locked down there for at the very most 5 minutes in game time while the face of the group tried to talk to the captain through the door. When they were let out, the captain told the adventurers to pretend none of this ever happened. The bard got a 25 on his persuasion check for a reward, so they got a box of gems that he said fell off the boat as thanks for protecting his ship. The problem player then takes out his sword and shield and immediately starts to threaten the captain and tell him to get downstairs so he can lock him in. I want to make something clear in this story here. I did not tell him he can't do it, but I did ask him to confirm if that's what he wants to do. Another note here, every other player in the group asked him not to do that, and then desperately try to roll that action back in character. Number 4. After session 0, one player told me they got bad vibes from this player because of that ruling argument. After session 1, this increased to 2 of the 4 players complaining about him. I decided I wanted to give him a second chance. Important to note that after session 1, he made a post in the group chat stating that he apologizes if he was hard to play with and might go back to a good character, which I thought was his plan from the start. But I was able to appreciate that he saw the flaws in his play and said he would fix it. But then about 2 days later, he gets into an argument with another player in the group chat about the backstories of characters. The argument itself was kind of silly. He was trying to say that someone's charlatan alter ego can't be a showman if he's a bard or something. I can give details on this if anyone asks, which I disagree with, but whatever. But I see him post something about how his character is violent because he is an orc. Now I need to give a lot of context on this. The campaign is in my own homebrew world. In my homebrew world, orcs are actually largely civilized and not innately violent. Same with many other monster races. I made this decision largely so players can choose one of the monster races if they want to. In fact, in World, one of the most respected researchers is an orc. Now, I don't expect players to know this off the bat, but I told him this twice during session 0 when he said he wants to play an orc, and another time during session 1 when he tried to say his character is violent because he came from an orc tribe, so of course he would be. Then I told him again, there are no really violent orc tribes in my world, and he might need to reconsider another reason for that. So when he said this during the argument, I had to tell him a 4th time that orcs are not innately violent, but he continues to persist. Number 5. During said argument after I got involved, I try to ask him to consider if playing a quick to violence character would be good for this group. I said this because every other player would want to approach scenarios with some social tact, and having someone quick to violence isn't that great of an idea to have on the party. He then asked, "Why not?" To which I then tried to explain everything I said above. He then spent almost an hour defending the actions of his character, actions that he apologized for 2 days prior, and he just couldn't really comprehend that if he does something bad, there will be consequences. There's a lot more details in regards to this argument and the whole consequences thing. If someone wants more information, I'll provide it in the comments, but it's a long story about the politics of the island, how their justice system works, and etc. And I'm trying to leave out details of the world. So after that argument, 3 of the 4 players in the group said it's probably time to find someone else. I asked some of my other friends for a second opinion, who agreed, and I booted him from the Roll20 game, the Discord server, and sent him a final message. At which point he responds with, "If I can leave you with some party wisdom, quit trying to control the players' characters. Your games would go a lot more smoothly." This statement confused me, because at no point did I say, "Your character has to do this," or "No, your character can't do that." I simply said, for the sake of the group dynamics, I don't feel like that would be the best idea, and I only said it outside of the session. He wanted to intimidate the old man with a sword. I let him. Other players told him afterwards, in character, not to do that and keep a low profile. He was being rude to crewmates and was aggressive towards people in the party. I let him. He wanted to throw the captain into the lower deck, lock him in there, steal the ship, sail to shore, kill the crewmates, and leave the ship on the shore. I was about to let him try until the entire rest of the party stepped in and said in character, "No, we aren't doing that. He's just joking around," in a desperate attempt to not cause any trouble. So I made no attempts to directly control his character outside of suggestions for his character's motivation, backstory, and how he should interact with the party. I even stated multiple times I don't have an issue with people being aggressive and prone to violence. Hell, I have an entire separate group going through the same adventure and they are super aggressive, but that's fine because they all agreed as a group to just go wild and not care about consequences. They killed a high-ranking council member in Session 2 and now there's a huge bounty hunting squad after them. But they are okay with that because they think it's hilarious that they are on the run and are trying to get involved with a local crime lord and earn her favor. Additionally, I will admit, the biggest thing pushing me to boot him was that I was just sick of arguing with him for long periods of times. I currently run 3 campaigns in the works to starting my 4th, and I DM them all. So the combination of the players complaining to me about him and me just not wanting to deal with the arguing on top of all the other campaigns I run, which if I'm being reasonable to myself, I shouldn't run so many while in college and working, was the part that pushed me over the edge towards kicking him. I honestly feel like I might be gaslighting myself into thinking I might be wrong, but everyone is telling me to stick to my guns on this. So, am I the a-hole? Well, it looks like we got another that guy story on our hands. A player who, instead of trying to fit in with the group and the world, tries to force themselves into things like a square peg into a round hole. Something that never ends well. Then, on top of all that, the player seems to be a murderhobo who thinks they could just bully both NPCs and players alike. It honestly surprises me how common it is to come across players who don't understand the cooperative part of cooperative role-playing games. Yup. Anyway, OP, you are definitely not the a-hole here. In fact, you handled the situation very well, and quite fairly, I might add, by never directly taking away the player's agency, as well as being very, very lenient. If anything, I'm surprised it took you that long to cut the problem player out from the game. And that's our story. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button for more future content. Also, if you would kindly follow the socials posted in the description, that would be amazing. As always, be good, be great, be awesome.